Hello everyone! Guess what? Today is the 8th anniversary of Jerome Weiselberry. Or you could say it's Jerome Weiselberry's 8th birthday, however you want to put it. In 8 years, I've made over 500 videos and earned almost 9,000 subscribers. What? I can't really fathom that number. Somewhere after 5,000, I just stopped picturing it because it was overwhelming. I am recognizing the event this year with a special video, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you this special t-shirt that my brother had custom made for me for a Christmas present. I never wear it because I don't want anything to happen to it. I'm mostly afraid that when I wash it, the letters will shred in the washer or get melted in the dryer, and I don't want that to happen. So I just keep it folded up and tucked away where I can look at it without actually putting it on. But it's a special occasion, so here it is. I want to thank you all for being here, for clicking on my videos, liking and subscribing without ever once being told to, and sharing and commenting. I always say that without you watching and leaving comments, I'd just be sitting here talking to myself, and that's the truth. Having you on the other side makes the effort worthwhile. It makes this whole thing make sense. I'm thankful each and every day for those of you who come along, check out the channel, and decide to stick around to see what I'll be talking about from week to week. In the last 8 years of video production, I've experienced ups and downs. I've put literal blood, sweat, and tears into this channel. I've had late nights and photo finishes and had to make compromises. I have some regrets. There are some things I think about in the middle of the night and just, every time I mispronounce something and then have a chorus of corrections in the comments, I kick myself for not just looking it up before I filmed. And every time I get a rude comment about my channel name from someone passing through who doesn't recognize it as an alias, I wish I'd chosen something simpler. But more seriously, there are situations I've had to deal with that, in hindsight, I could have handled better. And had I been shrewder or more street smart, I might have recognized things sooner and handled them more effectively. But you know what they say, hindsight is 20/20. They're also not joking when they say that you've got to have thick skin for this, and you've got to be prepared for some wild stuff. Wow, some people may not realize when they're being inappropriate. Other people apparently do not care. But I don't regret the knowledge and understanding I've gained from the whole adventure, and I don't regret the positive interactions I've had with so many people. Some of those connections are fleeting, one meaningful exchange and that's it, and others have endured over the years, and I am so grateful to have faithful viewers that I count as friends. I don't know how you all got here, but I am thrilled to have you. Now, I wanted to do something special and different for this occasion, so I was throwing ideas around, and suddenly those ideas turned into an FAQ. Are these really frequently asked questions? No. Not really, but they are all questions that I have been asked more than once. How long does it take you to make a video? This is probably the closest to a behind-the-scenes video you're ever gonna get, so hold on. For simplicity's sake, let's say that we're talking about a standard movie review that's about 15 minutes long. The script is gonna be around 3 pages, and it'll take me around an hour to film it. First, I have to watch the movie. That takes, say, 90 minutes. Writing the script can take me anywhere from an hour to 2 days. And if you're disappointed to learn that the videos are scripted, well, I'm sorry, but if I had to do these off the cuff, there wouldn't be any videos. The script is authentically me. It's what I really think and how I really talk. It's just that I've written it down beforehand and organized it and taken out the boring dithering. Part of the writing stage includes predetermining when I'm going to be off camera and where some of the cuts will be. Then, when I film, I actually memorize sections of script one chunk at a time so I can maintain eye contact rather than just sit here reading the script at you, which is not good TV. I do cheat occasionally if I'm in a hurry to get through the material, which is the case more often than not. Hopefully it's never too obvious, and you can rest assured that every video has at least one bit where I go off script. Watching the movie, writing the script, filming the video, that's done. Now it's time to edit the raw footage. I go through it once, doing an extremely rough cut. That takes 1 to 2 hours. Then a second time, choosing takes and putting in image placeholders. That's another 1 to 2 hours. I go through it a third time to fine-tune it. And that takes... well, I always hope that it's only going to take me, for a 15-minute video, half an hour, but it's always longer than that, because I always end up just trimming the dickens out of it, and I might also go through it a fourth time when I'm done, for good measure. At some point in this process, preferably after the script is written but before I film, in case I find things that I want to add, I go through the movie a second time for my images and clips. I take anywhere from 200 to 500 screen grabs. I never use that many, but I like to have plenty of options, and there have been a lot of times when that came in handy. If it's a 90-minute film, this might take 2 to 3 hours. I seldom do it all in one sitting. All of the editing of the raw footage and putting in the placeholders and all that, I can't do all of that in one sitting either. That might be my least favorite part, when I have filmed the video and then I have an hour and a half of this raw footage that I have to start going through. That, I do not enjoy that. But I would never outsource it, because I don't know, I'm a control freak. I like to be in control of the whole thing. If I've acquired video clips, and I tend to clip more of those than I end up using, sometimes I get some clips and I don't end up using them at all, I have to render those. That takes time. When I'm finally ready to place my images and or clips in the edited video, that's when I'm generally telling myself, okay, we're almost done, I'm in the home stretch. We're not almost done. I'm not in the home stretch. This part of editing, placing the pictures, takes several hours. It's always longer than I expect, and my software generally crashes at least twice in the process, because it just can't cope with all the things. I don't want to talk about software with people. This is the part, though, where I get to listen to music to drown out the very annoying sound of my own voice. So that's fun. It's also extremely satisfying to see the whole thing come together the way I envisioned it when I was writing. Once placement is finished, if I'm not in a mad rush, I watch the entire video again to make sure it runs smoothly. Inevitably, I end up making changes. I should mention that throughout this whole part, I do a lot of muttering and groaning to myself. I am wearing headphones the whole time, but my family can probably testify that it is a noisy process. When I'm satisfied that the video's as good as it's gonna get, or I just plain can't stand it anymore, I render it. If it's a 15-minute video, this can take from 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how image heavy it is. If it's got a lot of images and they're high definition, and there are several video clips as well, it's going to take longer. Then it's over to YouTube to upload the video, which, depending on the file size, the content, and my internet connection, can take 15 minutes to an hour. And while it's uploading, I often play the video in the background just one more time to make sure that it is the best that it can be. Believe it or not, I have actually caught mistakes at this late stage and had to cancel the upload, fix the video, and render it again. While it's uploading, I prep the thumbnail and hope that YouTube's not going to give me any trouble. And then the video's done. It's out there for your entertainment. And I run off and hide for a while because even though I've been doing this for 8 years, I still get nervous every time I post. So, if I tally things up here, by the time the video is posted, I've spent roughly 20 hours working on it. Yeah. For my own sanity, I try to spend the day after I post not working on any video at all. But that doesn't usually happen. For one thing, reading comments and reacting to comments still counts as working on a video. That takes, an hour or two, depending on the volume of comments. And for another, I'm often running behind my self-imposed schedule, and I will actually be less stressed about the next video if I get started on it right away. Then I can take a break in the middle of the week. And really, it takes 20 hours to make a video, but I'm not doing 20 hours all at once. It's a couple hours here, a couple hours there, sprinkled throughout the week. So now you might be wondering, do you actually enjoy this? Yes, I do. It's satisfying work, and I've learned a lot, and it keeps me busy. I get to talk about books and movies of my own choosing, and I do that however and whenever I want. And I've gotten to meet people who like the same weird, random things that I do. It's wonderful. I've received a couple comments where I was told I shouldn't put so much effort into this because it's not that important, or I shouldn't worry about X, Y, or Z. Well-intentioned as such comments may be, they're ignorant of the planning and responsibility required to run a weekly show all by yourself. It's not being a perfectionist to refuse to waste people's time by turning out a sloppy product made with minimal effort. There's personal integrity and commitment involved here, and if you're gonna get stuff done and be a reliable content creator, you have to be disciplined. You have to take it seriously, and I do. Alright, that's question number 1. I promise the rest of the questions are not going to take so long to answer. Why do your videos look so fill in the blank? Old, weird, bad? This question. My first videos were filmed like this simply because that was the default and I had no clue what I was doing. I soon figured out how to change the settings, but because smaller files better suited my purpose, I decided not to. When I switched to making videos for YouTube, I kept the settings out of convenience. I've never wanted to go into this because it's complicated, and there's a lot of stuff that's just personal choice. The smaller frame meant that I didn't have to clear as much stuff out of the way. Over here is a stack of pants. See? Pants. I don't want that in the frame. I don't want to have to move it every time I film, and then whatever's behind the pants is going to be visible. I don't want to have to deal with that. And then over here, well, there's nothing now, but there was a mirror. The mirror has since moved to the opposite side. You can't see any of this stuff. It doesn't matter. But I didn't want to be filming a mirror. It just looked weird. Lower resolution means I don't have to put on makeup to film a video. I will if I have a massive zit that I'm trying to cover up, or if I'm excessively shiny or red. Also, switching over to HD meant a much bigger file, and that file format required reformatting to edit in the software that I prefer, and I just didn't want to deal with that. So I kept doing what I was doing, and I'm still doing it to this day. At this point, my videos looking the way they do is one of the things that makes them different, for better or for worse. I've gotten comments from people who say they like it. It's retro, and that fits the old subjects I cover, or it reminds them of the good old days of YouTube. That wasn't intentional, but I like the sentiment. I think, okay, that works. So the format stays. I'm certainly not going to change it to give in to the people who are pretty rude about my video quality. You know, if you think that the video quality is terrible and you're just like, I can't watch it, that's fine. You don't have to leave a nasty comment about it. And I have to say, anyone who gets outraged because my videos aren't in HD probably isn't going to be interested in the majority of what I have to talk about anyway. Because you know what? The old movies that I review, some of them are really bad quality. So, you know, it's just the channel's just not for you. And that's okay. How did you get into old movies? It's not so much that I got into them, they were just always there. My mom taped a lot of old movies off the TV, and that's what we watched. It didn't make us cool in school, but we did grow up having an appreciation for the classics. And then in my teens, I came to realize that I didn't just like old movies, I loved them. I do like newer movies well enough, the good ones, but I do feel a special attraction to old films. I love the black and white photography, the way people looked and dressed and talked. I love the overall style and the earnest efforts of people behind the camera that resulted in some stunningly creative visuals. So I am happy to express my appreciation and help introduce some people to movies they don't know about and to spread the love for classic films. Will we ever get to meet your mom? No, I don't think so, but I really appreciate the affection that's been expressed for her in the comments. I love her to bits. She's my mommy. But it really warms my heart when I read what somebody else said, when somebody else says something nice about her. She is a sweet, funny, dainty little lady, and I can tell you that she's tickled pink by some of these comments. She is very camera shy, so she's not going to make an appearance. She and my dad are both faithful viewers, especially my dad. He keeps a sharp eye on the comments when the videos first come out to make sure that no one's misbehaving, but neither one of them wants to be on camera, and I would just as soon maintain their privacy as well as my own. Would you ever consider doing a podcast? Would I ever consider it? Sure. I have considered it. I've been invited on podcasts. Would I ever do it? Probably not. I don't have the setup for it. To do a podcast properly, you have to have a professional grade microphone and a soundproof room. I have neither. I also just feel like, what would I say for half an hour or an hour? You know, I think that's why people like to do it with two people or a group of people, because that helps conversation flow, and if you're shy, that helps draw you out. But it's just, I don't think it's a format for me, especially because I don't listen to podcasts myself, so it doesn't make sense to me to try to get into that field, so I'll pass. How about a blog? Nah. I chose doing a YouTube channel over starting a blog because I express myself better through a combination of words, vocal inflections, facial expressions, and hand movements. Every time I've contemplated doing a blog, I just feel like, how would anybody know when I was smiling? And how would people know when I was raising my eyebrows? In case you haven't noticed, I move my eyebrows a lot. I never knew until I started filming myself, and then I was like, oh my goodness, why are they constantly going, woo? It's like I'm saying something suggestive, but I'm not saying anything suggestive here. It's just, they move independently. What's your favorite book? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite decade for movies? You know I can't answer this one. I have had ideas for dozens of top 5 or top 10 videos, or favorite this, that, and the other thing videos. But when it comes down to making the list, I just can't do it. The closest I have come to making a favorite movies list was when I did the pick a favorite movie for each year thing, and I wish I hadn't done that. It wasn't long after posting that I regretted doing it, because, for one thing, I got exactly the kinds of comments I dreaded, criticizing me for my choices and telling me what I should have picked on my own favorites list. But I also didn't like locking myself into those picks. If I've said it once, I've said it a dozen times, that I'm indecisive and I stink at choosing favorites. I know what books and movies I love, but when I try to narrow it down, it's too hard. I just can't do it. I don't want to. I will say, though, that I have reviewed some of my favorite books and movies. Not all of them, but a good number of them. So you can... Actually, I think I made a playlist for that. A playlist of favorite things. Maybe? I should check that. As for my favorite decade, I'd probably go with the 1940s. There are a lot of movies I love that came out in the 40s, the beginning, the middle, and the end of the decade. So that seems like the best choice. That's what I've answered before, so I'm going to stick with that. Are there any movies you hate? Or what's the worst movie you've ever seen? Of course there are movies I don't like. Not a lot, because, well, I don't rent movies that I have a feeling I'm gonna dislike, and if I'm watching something and I dislike it enough, I just stop watching. Life's too short, and there are too many movies and books out there waiting to be watched, certainly waiting on my many, many lists of movies to check out, for me to force myself to get through something I don't like just because I started it. I can't think of any movies I outright hate at the moment. Hate's a strong word, so I try not to use it too often. My go-to answer for worst movie I've ever seen is usually Birdemic, which is truly boring, badly made dreck. And not even in the so bad it's good category, it's just bad. But I also feel like that's an unfair choice, because it's not professionally made, it's not professionally released, it's just some kind of student film that went viral, and now everybody knows about it. In a different way, but kind of in the same category, Sharknado was bad. Sharknado 3 might have been even worse. I don't even know why I saw Sharknado 3. But again, I'm not sure if that should count, because those movies were designed to be bad. So it's kind of like cheating. If I'm going to try to think of something less famous, more obscure, something that was supposed to be a serious movie that just turned out awful, I might go with Attack of the Giant Leeches, because there's some stuff there that's laughably bad. It's very schlocky, kind of sleazy, and just... I'm sure if I rewatched it right now, though, I'd come up with something positive to say. I always do. How come you haven't aged? Are you a time traveler? Have you found the fountain of youth? No, I'm just one of those people. Could be 15, could be 50. The older I get, the nicer it is, but there are drawbacks. There are some people who say, it's so nice, it's so impressive to see someone so young who appreciates these older films. I always wonder, is there a cutoff point where it stops being impressive? Because I think I might have surpassed that. And then on the flip side, there are the people who watch for like a minute and then say, you are a child, therefore you cannot possibly have anything intelligent to say, and because you hadn't been born yet when this movie came out, you are not allowed to express an opinion. I always wonder if those people follow their own rules and deny themselves the ability to have an opinion on movies that came out before they were born, but I never ask. I don't think I've ever asked. By the way, I know it might seem like I haven't changed much in 8 years, but I have. My hair is that much grayer, that much more salt and pepper. My face has filled out some because I've put on a few more pounds, but it doesn't show up on the camera because it's out of frame. Are you ever going to publish a book? That's not on my radar right now, and I don't have any ambition in that direction. In the past, I've mentioned the novella and the short stories that I wrote some years ago, but I know that those are not ready for publication, and that's not just me being modest. I figure when people ask this question or say, you should write a book, they're talking about a book on film of some sort, or something along those lines. I don't really have any ideas. Who knows? Never say never. There's always the possibility that I might get really into something and decide, hey, there's so much material on this that I've compiled that I could write a book on it, and there would be interest enough to make it worthwhile. But who knows? I'm not there right now, and I've got enough to cope with what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna keep focusing on the channel and the videos and learning more and sharing what I learn. Where did your signature sign-off come from? You mean the thanks for watching, bye! Every new YouTuber has trouble with two things: beginning a video and ending it. I don't know how we figure out what works. I don't know how to explain it, but in my experience, it's just that you've done something a few times and it felt right, and then it becomes an official thing. Having a sign-off actually takes away some of the stress of writing and filming, because the middle of the video is a big question mark. That's what I need to work on. That's what I need to ponder. But it's a lot easier to get started when you know how the video is going to begin and how it's going to end. The first line, hello everyone, and the last line, thanks for watching, bye, are locked in. I do suspect that the punchy, high-squeaked bye, which I seldom nail on the first take, originated when I was away at college. I called my mom and talked to her every single day throughout the whole 3.5 years. Because we missed each other so much, we had a hard time saying goodbye, no matter how long we'd been talking. So at some point we started doing this thing where at the very end of the call, we'd go back and forth with these silly little goodbyes, these little bye, getting higher and higher until one of us, probably giggling, finally hung up. And that was our thing, and I guess that just became the way I say the word or something. I don't know. But I ended up trying it out in a video one time, and then I kept doing it, and the rest is history. It's another thing on this channel for which you have my mom to thank. Do you have any interest in acting or in making movies yourself? Acting, no. I got my fill of that in high school, thank you very much. While I do have some flair for the dramatic, I'm not a performer. I certainly don't like acting while other people are watching. I might do some acting for my videos, but that's different. That I don't view that as the same thing. I'm the only one in here. I do as many takes of it as I might want, and I may go and watch it and be like, oh wow, that was terrible. Let's delete that and pretend it never happened. And that has occurred in the past. In this scenario, I'm the only one in control, and that's my preference. As for filmmaking in general, I wouldn't mind taking a stab at making short films. At least in my life, I would like to try making one short film, one live action short film. And I think I've commented before that I'd like to try making a stop motion animation film, just for my own amusement, just to see if I can pull it off. I think that would be an informative and hopefully satisfying experience. And I'm not talking a long film. I know to do anything longer than 2 minutes with stop motion animation would be. I have talked about my past interest in writing or adapting screenplays. I suppose that is more up my alley than directing or producing or doing anything behind the camera, which I'm not qualified to do. I have no real experience with. But at this point, I'm more interested in the analytical side of things. You do have to be analytical, I think, to be a screenwriter, but you also have to have the ideas, and I don't really have a lot of ideas right now. Do you have a post office box? Nope, I do not, and I will not be getting one. I contemplated it for about 2 minutes several years ago, and quickly came to the conclusion that that was not something I would be comfortable with. I appreciate that some people would like to send me stuff. That's very generous, very thoughtful, but I've got several reasons why I am not interested in having a P.O. box. So that's the answer to that question. Do you take requests? I don't necessarily review something just because somebody asked for it, but let me put it this way. I take recommendations. Anybody is free to recommend anything at any time, and all recommendations and suggestions are added to a giant spreadsheet. I call it a spreadsheet, but actually it's more organized than just one giant list. There are different sheets within the, what's it called? Workbook. I don't know. Currently, I have 410 films, 139 books, 66 miscellaneous items, 90 movies I've already seen, but it's not outside the realm of possibility that I could review them, and 94 items that I'm not likely to check out because they just do not appeal to me at all, but I made note of them anyway. There are 137 items that have been recommended to me that I have gone on to review, either solo reviews or mini reviews. That seems like a small number compared to how many recommendations I've received, but I'm doing the best I can. Absolutely, if you have a title you think I'd like, or you think would make a fun review, and you want to toss it out there and bring it to my attention, go ahead and do it. If you leave a comment and include that recommendation, I will see it, and I will add it to my recommendations list. Don't leave it in a reply to someone else's comment. I do not get notifications about those, and they don't show up in the comment section of YouTube Studio. Make your own comment. I only ask that you please do not spam review requests. Once is enough. Are you on any other social media? As of right now, YouTube is going to remain the only place where you can find Jerome Weiselberry. I did have a Weiselberry Twitter account, but I deleted it last year. I wasn't active there, so I bet nobody even noticed. I'm not a fan of social media, so I use it sparingly or not at all. I deactivated my private Facebook account years ago, and I have not missed it. Any social media that I do use, if it's not in the name of Weiselberry, is private, and I don't want to be found, I don't want to be followed, I don't want to feel like someone's looking over my shoulder. I am Jerome Weiselberry, but I don't want to feel like I have to be Weiselberrying all the time. Will you ever do any React videos? No, I will not, because I don't like React videos. I'm not talking about a reaction video where someone says, "Hey, so I just watched this trailer and here's what I thought of it." I've done a couple of those. And I'm not talking about videos, for example, where there's a professional vocal coach sitting there analyzing a particular performance and explaining technique behind it and all that. I mean videos that are like listening to this iconic song for the first time, or especially watching this famous movie for the first time. There's no preparation, no creativity, no effort. They've edited the video, there's that, but what you're watching is a chopped up version of the movie on one side, and this person just sitting there gawping for the camera on the other. They're either talking over the movie, trying too hard to be funny, or they're making ridiculous, exaggerated noises and faces. On another level, though, what concerns me is that copyright holders trying to shut down these videos, these channels for flagrant copyright violation might wind up punishing channels like mine, which work hard to stay within the confines of the fair use policy in the same wave. So, I don't like the videos just because I don't like them, and I also don't like them because they worry me. So I wish this fad would fade. Last question, do you make money on YouTube? I have not been paid 1 penny by YouTube. I chose not to become a partner with them, personal reasons, so I don't make any ad revenue. If I had my druthers, none of my videos would have ads, but last year, YouTube just decided to monetize everything they could, whether you were okay with it or not. So, most of my videos do have ads now. Before it was just that some of them had ads because they were monetized by the copyright claimant. And copyright claims are different from copyright strikes. When you get a copyright strike, that's scary. But a copyright claim, it's just the studio or whoever saying, hey, I recognize that you are using some of my property, so let me just put a label on that. And they might block it from being played in certain countries, or they might say, you can't put ad revenue on this, you can't make money from our material, or they might say, you can have ads on it, and we're gonna get all the profit. It's fine. I wasn't gonna make money on it anyway, so I just leave it alone. I fought it once or twice, did not win, found it really unfair, but didn't pursue it anymore. The thing that YouTube did, though, where they just started putting ads on everything, I find that pretty scummy. I do believe that if you watch a new video of mine within the first 24 hours or so of its release, it does not have any ads yet. I'm not sure about that. It was amusing, but also disturbing, a couple years ago when I came across some page somewhere that claimed it had an estimate of my earnings as a YouTuber. And because it was significantly more than $0, it was a completely false report. However, I do have a tip jar of sorts on Ko-fi.com. I've never announced it before now, mainly because I've never been sure how to say it. It's spelled Ko-fi, and to me, that should be said Ko-fi, but they use a coffee metaphor, and I've heard people in videos say it coffee, so I guess I should say Ko-fi.com, but everything within me is screaming Ko-fi.com! Ko-fi is very user-friendly. Anyone can make a donation of any size at any time. There's no obligation. You can choose to become a monthly donor if you want to, but it's entirely optional. That's why I chose Ko-fi over Patreon. I know Patreon is much bigger, people are more familiar with it, I'd probably get more traction on Patreon, but I have never liked some aspects of their setup. I really struggled trying to come up with different tiers and perks when I felt I really couldn't commit to anything, when it was all I could do to come up with a video per week over here, and sometimes 2 videos per week. I didn't want to set amounts for people. I'd rather they be free to choose their own amount. I didn't want to impose a choice that you can either donate per month or donate per video, because that didn't seem fair. I do believe that Patreon has changed some of those things to be a little more like coffee, perhaps, but I'm not going to cross over. As of right now, there is no exclusive content on the Ko-Fi. Haha, I did it on the Ko-Fi account. But I would really like to have something, and the wheels are constantly turning in my brain. So I'm not going to promise anything, but I would like to be able to have some stuff. Referring back to a previous question, if anything were to happen with YouTube, I would post about it on Ko-Fi. So you are welcome to follow my Ko-Fi account in case anything changes, but I also do make a little post every week or two to announce upcoming videos, provided I know what I'm going to be doing. Again, this is 100% voluntary. It does not make a difference as far as recommendations go. You don't have to worry that, like, oh, she's only going to do things that were recommended by people who gave her money. It doesn't work like that. And I'm not going to bother people about this. I am just very grateful for any support of the channel. Once again, I want to thank you all for helping me reach this 8-year milestone. I couldn't and wouldn't do it without you, and I hope you'll stick around for another 8 years, another 500 videos. That's a lot of videos. Let's not think about it that way. I hope you enjoyed this FAQ session, and I will be back later this week with another big video about what else I saw in August. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.